It's time for Waking Up with Wesley, today's forecast and weather-wise discussion with WLOX First Alert Weather's senior meteorologist, Wesley Williams.
Waking Up with Wesley is sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.
All right. Hello there, South Mississippi, and thank you for waking up with Wesley. I'm Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. What you see beside me is the month's calendar of temperatures so far in June. And guess what? Yesterday, June 25th on Wednesday, we did it. We hit the exact temperature that we were forecasting, 94 degrees. You know what that means? It means yesterday was the hottest day of 2025 so far, at least in Gulfport, Biloxi. So when you're at the top, basically all you can do is go down after that, and I think that's what we're going to do today. We're going to see a day today that is not as hot as yesterday, which is a sign of that heat dome pattern that we've been telling you about. Maybe that pattern's about to break, and maybe we might be able to move into a wetter pattern. I know it's been raining somewhere each day, but we might be about to crank up those rain chances even more and have it rain even more than it has been in the last few days. Speaking of rain, you can see that the month of June also has had many days with rain. We've seen a number of days so far this month with rain. Let me pull up the rain calendar, because this right here is the temperature calendar. But if we switch over to the rain calendar, you can see that, we've had 25 days of the month, and we've had how many days that it's rained, at least in Gulfport. Let's count them off. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. A couple of those barely count. That 11th and that 13th barely even count. But it's easily around 10 days of the month out of the 25 days that have completed so far have seen rain, at least in one spot. If we included the whole map, it might wind up being the entirety of South Mississippi. For the entire month. We probably have seen rain somewhere each day. Anyway, there's a look at the forecast today. You might notice it is still hot, right? Numbers still showing 90s, but these 90s might not be as hot as yesterday's 90s, so maybe we're taking them down just a smidge. Yesterday, if you remember, the forecast called for highs between 94 and 97. Today, looking at between 92 and 94. Still hot, but just maybe not quite to the degree that it was yesterday. And like I said, I think this is a sign that that heat dome pattern is beginning to break. You can look at this map, and if you compare to yesterday's heat alert map, there are fewer places with heat alerts today compared to yesterday. One notable absence is the Big Apple. They are no longer under a heat alert, even though they were yesterday. So this heat dome is beginning to shrink in size, and I would also say it's beginning to get a little bit weaker. You only find one small area underneath a heat warning, and most of the rest of the area is under a heat advisory. But anywhere you're near the center of that high pressure, that's where those temperatures will be at their hottest. And even though we on the Mississippi coast had a heat advisory yesterday, you can see on the Mississippi coast today, there is no heat advisory. So that's already a sign that today, not expected to be quite as hot as yesterday. I think today's heat index will only be in the 100 to 105 range, which is still pretty hot. But yesterday, it was over 108. We saw a report of a 115 degree heat index in Perkinston. We also saw a report of a 111 degree heat index in Van Cleve. Those were the numbers from yesterday, and I'm telling you today, I don't think it's going to be quite as bad as it was yesterday. So with this heat dome pattern, there's two things at play. In the middle, think of it like a donut. The donut hole, the middle, that's where the worst heat is. And then the edge, the dough around the hole, that's where the storms are. And so that's what you can make this comparison, right? If we mark this blue H here, the center, the donut hole, that's the middle of the high pressure. And then if we switch back to the storms map, you can see that that's where the storms are going to be. They're going to be going around the edge of the donut, of the dome of high pressure. So we've been mentioning this type of pattern is called a ring of fire pattern. We tend to see this at least once a year, every summer in this part of the country, where you have a hot dome of high pressure, and then you have the storms going around that high in kind of like a ring-like fashion. Now, if you remember yesterday's forecast, our computer models were showing some scenarios that we would see some thunderstorms on Thursday morning. And for many of you in South Mississippi, we haven't seen them. The thunderstorms, in many cases, kind of went around us over the last 6 hours. Some went to our south. They were all moving our way from Alabama and Georgia, but some of them dove toward the south. You can see them down here, dove toward the south into the Gulf. So we were thinking they would kind of come out of South Carolina, out of Georgia, and then kind of come closer to Mississippi. But instead, it took more of a southerly trajectory. There were also some more storms that also came out of Georgia and South Carolina, and instead of going south, they actually went north, closer to Meridian. So it's pretty interesting, but that's what wound up happening, is that the storms that we assumed from the computer models were going to come out of Georgia and South Carolina and kind of come close to Mississippi, they did the opposite, and they split us, where some went out into the Gulf like that, and others went up toward the north, toward Meridian like that. But there still is the potential for these storms, and that's that the green area you see there indicates where there's kind of this level 1 risk of severe weather out of 5, so it's a very low risk, a very low probability of there being strong storms, but it is there. The storms that develop today, they will be developing on outflow boundaries, on sea breezes, these little bitty kind of disturbances at the local level, which dictate and determine exactly where storms will form. So that will determine exactly where the showers and storms happen this afternoon. They're all going to be along various outflow boundaries and sea breezes. An outflow boundary is basically, if there's a thunderstorm, it shoots out the rain and a gust of wind kicks up. And as that gust continues to permeate through the air, sometimes it can actually cause the formation of a new thunderstorm downwind. And so, you basically have thunderstorms creating other thunderstorms in a way of speaking about it. And that makes it really difficult to tell exactly where they are going to form. But wherever it is, it could be somewhere in that green highlighted area. So that's going to kind of break it down for the first half of the video, just recapping what we've covered so far. It is going to be hot again today. However, maybe not as hot as yesterday, as this heat dome pattern appears to be about to finally break, or at least begin to break. And this could unlock the gate for maybe a transition to a wetter pattern as we get closer to the weekend and early next week. There's going to be this upper low swirling nearby heading into the weekend and next week, and that upper low will help to increase rain potential across our region. We can actually see it on the water vapor channel on the satellite imagery. This is water vapor loop over the last 3 days or so, so it goes all the way back to Monday and just loops the same information over and over. And it's not that hard to see. On the right side of the image, there's this counterclockwise swirl. I'll see if I can maybe pause this loop for just a second. Let's see if it'll let me do that, and then I'll hit a pause button right there. Okay, so basically this is what I want to draw your attention to. There's going to be this kind of counterclockwise swirly like that. You'll watch that area, and you'll watch that entire circulation kind of slowly but surely moving from right to left on the map. So watch that area. We'll put this back into motion so you can understand that upper low that will be responsible for eventually changing our pattern to a wet one. That upper low is already working to break down the hot high pressure heat dome, and eventually once that heat dome is gone, all that will be there is that upper low, and that's going to probably allow the rain chances to really kind of increase in that late weekend and next week time frame. And that's what this is showing from Thursday today into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and into parts of next week, Monday and Tuesday. That low very slowly crawling toward the west, but slowly but surely kind of increasing our rain potential. Look at the computer models, and if we take a look at today, Thursday, the models don't really move much. Friday, still don't see a whole lot, but then you get to Saturday and this pink line starts to take off. It keeps increasing on Sunday. The GFS model continuing to increase the rain potential locally over the weekend. The timing for the models is different though. The GFS wants the sharpest increase in rain over the weekend. The European model is slower and doesn't bring that increase in rain until basically next Monday and Tuesday. So the timing of when we're going to transition into that wetter pattern, it's not going to be nailed down to the day just yet, as we still have some differences in the modeling information. But at least both models do agree on that increase in rain in the Gulfport Biloxi area, in the South Mississippi area, at some point between now and next week. So that's going to be something that we monitor. Our 7-day forecast shows the chances for rain likely increasing to the greater than 40% range by the time we get to next week. So if you are a person who likes to check the 7-day forecast every day, keep checking it and keep looking at the day for Monday and keep looking at the day for Tuesday and Wednesday. And I would imagine that as those days get closer, we are probably going to see a higher number than 40 on those days when you keep checking the latest information. Well, right now what I want to do is switch gears and take a look at some of the cool weather pictures that some of our viewers sent us over the last few days. This is what I'll do to wrap up the video. So what you're looking at there is a cloud on the Mississippi coast. I believe I want to make this a little bit bigger on your screen. Let's see, can I do that? Yeah, there we go. So there you can see where we are. This is in the Gulfport area looking toward the east because that's the Island View Casino there. And just look at this massive, absolutely gigantic thunderhead of a cloud. That's how clouds grow. They start low and then they grow taller and taller in the sky. And this one was a very growing thunderstorm. And toward the top there, you can get all kinds of strong air currents as the vertical growth is occurring rapidly in that thunderstorm. But just a massive, kind of like a mushroom-shaped cloud there over parts of the Gulf Coast, Mississippi coast. I believe that was sent to us a couple of days ago by Casey. But yeah, very strong vertical growth there. I also love this picture too from Jennings a couple of days ago showing a shelf cloud. Look at how scary that thing looks. Let's get a closer look at that one. Man, if you saw that, you better run inside. That means a storm is coming. This is a shelf cloud. And this very smooth banded edge here, it's giving UFO, right? But it's a smooth banding there that is an indication of the striations in the thunderstorm cloud and the strong winds that are continuing to wrap around the storm. This is the leading edge. This storm on this picture is moving from left to right. And this is the front part of the cloud that's pushing out ahead. You will feel a strong gust of wind because it's a shelf cloud and it has a gust of wind out ahead of it, a gust front. And then right past the cloud, there's actually a bunch of rain and strong wind that will get right on into you once you see that pass overhead. So just a very, very cool thing. Then you have all these little low-hanging clouds that are just right beneath it. They look very ominous, but love it when y'all send us those pictures in the WLOX weather app. So thank you again to our viewers who always do that. And I think that'll pretty much wrap it up for today's edition of Waking Up with Wesley. I've been Senior Meteorologist Wesley Williams. I hope that you have a pretty nice Thursday. We will catch you again next time. Until then, take care.
Waking Up with Wesley has been sponsored by Exclusive Auto Brokers. For the best deals on wheels, visit Exclusive Auto Brokers on Beatline Road in Long Beach.